And welcome into the high school football playoff show, week number 2. I'm James Collier, along with Jakob Hankins and Spencer Hutchinson. Jacob looked like he's in a tanning booth. Spencer looks like he's in a freaking dungeon.
It looks like Jacob's in the Jacob. Are you in like the utility closet? That's what it looks like.
I'm in his production closet at school.
Yeah, this room that I built for the media program here at Raceland, so he's back where all the greatness happens.
Here,
So,
we'll give you a behind the scenes here.
yeah, there you go.
Wow, man,
TVs.
that's next level. Wow.
Well, first off, apologies for last week. So we did the show, and somehow my audio didn't record at all.
I'm not upset about that. I'm
I
really
didn't figure
not.
you would be.
Yeah.
No,
Last
my
night- or last
connection
week
was.
was-
Yeah, it was just not
It was-
good. We tried.
wasn't a good
We
week.
tried.
Yeah. Spencer kept losing connection. His phone would only turn one way, so we had him upside. Everything looks like normal now.
Yeah.
So across the bottom of your screen, we've got all of the games that are playing based off of their classifications. We're going to blow through some of the classifications, and then we're going to really dive in on the ones that we cover here in the local area. Class 1A, Class 2A, 3, and then some of those games they're in 4. So let's start first in Class 6A. First off, running clock week 1. I mean, it was ridiculous the number of games that were running clocks. And again, we didn't get the tangent that I went off on last week because my audio recorded, but something has to give in the playoffs around Kentucky because this is getting absurd.
Yeah, but then you have teams like Henry County going to East Carter and winning. And it kind of strengthens their case going, oh, well, look, this is the reason why we play those first round matchups. But I would say probably 80% of them are running clocks in the first half. So, out of all the Friday games I looked at across the state, I think that Henry County going to East Carter was the biggest whoa, and I think maybe the only whoa.
That was the only whoa.
Yeah, maybe the only whoa. But I know you hate the first, and I think you even hate the second round.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so much completely against the second round, but I think that, first off, if you go winless on a season, you have no business in the postseason.
Well, here's the thing. I know that you want to get rid of the first and second round of the playoffs, but the first and second round of the playoffs wouldn't be as boring if the classes wasn't so watered down. There's no need to have 6 classes. I think that 4 is perfect, and then put private and small and large private. Break them down into 2, and then let the public schools play in the top 4.
Yeah, but we
Why
all
not
know
do
how
that?
that's going to work.
It would never happen.
Never
happen.
That will never
Never.
happen.
Never happen.
And the reason it'll never
Forget I
happen,
even
it
said
makes
it.
too much freaking sense. That's
Yeah.
why it'll never work it. So,
Yeah.
okay, Class 6A, nothing across the board that was
No.
anything talk about it, at all. The teams that's supposed to win is won. The teams that didn't need to be there got blown out.
Right.
But since we didn't have the show last week that we got to put out, Class 6A, is it Trinity in the field, or is South Warren right there with them? Can we get somebody else that could be there, or are we just basically across the board, it's Trinity and everybody else to run them down?
I think it's Trinity and everybody else, from my perspective. I mean, they've won it, the past 2 years in a row, so. And
Oh.
no change at quarterback, so he's been a state champion since his freshman year, so.
Well,
We'll see.
South Warren has proven that they can win that game. In the last 5 years, they have won a 6A state championship. But the problem is Trinity, even by their expectations, has an exceptionally good team this year. I know that they dropped a game up at Moeller. I understand that. I think that was a 27-24 game.
That was a really tight
But
contest.
But Moeller's, Trinity's not only the number 1 team in 6A, they're a top 50 team in the nation. Just from my perspective. So I think it's Trinity in the field. I mean, who else is even close, James? Really?
South Warren's the only team that I would even consider being in that conversation.
Yeah. And to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, Trinity's the man. So
Zane Johnson, the junior quarterback, is a man. 37 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's thrown for over 2,000 yards on the season. And, I mean, it's not that he's throwing it to one guy. His leading receiver only has 499 yards. But they have 2 receivers over 400 yards, 2 more over 300, and those 4 combined have 27 touchdowns.
Yeah, Trinity's defense, man, I'm telling you, it's different when they go against Moeller, when they go against St. X in Cincinnati. But just by the teams in their district and the teams in the classification in 6A in Kentucky, they're extremely dominant. I know that they've had some close calls over the year, but it seems like when late November, early December rolls around, Trinity transforms into something different and they become extremely hard to beat because they've been there. They have the experience deep in playoffs. They don't get rattled. Kroger Field's almost like a home field advantage for them because they've been there so much. So it's Trinity in the field, I think.
South Warren, Camden Page, the junior quarterback, 1,651 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Caden York, their running back, 15 touchdowns, only rushed for 612 yards this year. But when you look at who they've played this year, they've beaten Bryan Station pretty handily, a 10-point win over Manual, blew out Bowling Green, a good win over Hopkinsville. They get into Pulaski County, who was a very good 5A team. They beat them 35-0. And over the last 4 games, they've given up a total of 31 points.
Right. Bowling Green's down. I think we can all agree with that. This is not a traditional Bowling Green team. They're not as good as they have been. Let me say, maybe not down's a good word for it, but they're not as good as they had been. South Warren, I do agree. That's probably your second best team. Do not sleep on Frederick Douglass. They're that team that, man, they like to make the game ugly. It's a low-scoring game. They got a really good defense. Came really close to beating Boyle County. I believe it was a 17-14 game. But they, Frederick Douglass, a team that's kind of under the radar. They're kind of like the Middlesboro 1A.
And this is a rematch this week with Bryan Station, a regular season matchup there at the end of the season that Frederick Douglass won 27-10. So
yeah, Bryan
right.
Station.
Yeah.
Great last couple of years for them.
Yeah, without a doubt, for sure. And again, you just play in such a tough division in 6A.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you have a good season, it's really not much when you get compared to what some of the other teams are doing.
I'll say this. I would rather be a competitive 6A team than to be a good 3A team because I know I've at least got a little bit of a chance to upset Trinity like a South Warren or Frederick Douglass. Nobody in 3A has a chance of beating Cal.
No, the only person that beats Cal is Cal.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. We said this a couple of years ago when everybody was all like, Boyle County, Boyle County, Boyle County, Boyle County. And
Covington Catholic beat them.
And Covington Catholic beats them.
And then Paducah Tillman, who the one guy, by the way, that voted for Tillman all season long as number 1 in 4A. And we all made fun of him. And then they dropped the state championship, and he's like, that guy's still over here, by the way. I was the one that voted number 1. So,
yeah, but I think it's different this year, man. I think Cal is just, when you've got, 8 of the top 20 players on one team
yeah.
in the whole state, come on.
Yeah, they're wired a little differently. All right, Class 5A. We talked about this last week, and I was really big. I think Woodford County is the odds-on favorite in 5A, and I think they have an opportunity to really make something big. Obviously, Scott County was up there most of the regular season. They took a late season loss, kind of tumbled down the rankings a little bit. But I really like what Woodford County's doing this season.
What about Atherton? Are they a 5A school too?
Yes, they are. They go 10-1 this year.
That is a team under the radar. Another team under the radar that nobody talks about. Most of the polls across the state have them in the top 15. So don't sleep on them either.
You got Pulaski County, who has a couple of ugly losses. One of those to a 6A, so I don't know if you call that an ugly loss, 35-0. But they lost to a 4A school in Johnson Central, and that game, the score was nowhere indicative of how much that game got out of control.
No. They got a lot of points in garbage time to make it look a lot easier on the stat sheet. But I believe that Johnson Central had maybe even a 4-score lead at one time. So Johnson Central dominated that game. Johnson Central's a scary team, boys.
They are a scary good team. Talking about Woodford County, we talked about this last week. They only have one loss, and their loss is a team out of Tennessee. They lost 49-35, but they've got wins over Great Crossing, South Oldham, The Scott County win 57-50 in the shootout. They won last week over Boone County 54-7. A team that prototypically you don't think about as a football school. They've had some really success in basketball a few years ago, made a deep run there in the Sweet 16. But I think that this is the season that you could see the Yellow Jackets might be taking home some big-time hardware coming from Kroger Field.
Another kind of big win, which I know another out-of-state win, is Harvest Prep. I mean, they're kind of a powerhouse, and I know they're down a lot this year, but they're always a good football school, and it's another big win for Woodford.
Of course, Tiger Hankins would go straight after Harvest Prep.
Yeah, he would. What's wrong with you? No, Woodford County.
I saw the chuckle there from Spencer, and I knew exactly where you were going.
I knew what he was going to say.
No, but a lot, Woodford County, historical powerhouse, man. They've had some down years, but a lot of people need to remember that Russell played them in the '78 championship game and defeated them back when there was only 4 classes. So Woodford County, no stranger to making deep playoff runs. I do agree with what James is saying, especially on a year when Bowling Green is not its traditional self. Bowling Green kind of had a 5A and a headlock there for a while.
Yes.
It seemed like anytime there was a 5A state championship game, it was Bowling Green playing who. So, I think that if you're going to sneak up and get a state championship in 5A, this year's the year to do it.
Their quarterback's name is the best ever, Fox Coons. And he's thrown for 34 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, almost 2,900 yards on the season. They've got a running back that's gone for over 1,000. A really balanced type of offense, but a quarterback with a first name of Fox. I mean, you got to cheer for this guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you
kind of like Bowling Green's quarterback last year in Deuce Bailey. I mean,
let me ask you guys a question, though. Would you rather, and I don't think you're allowed to do this anymore, would you rather go through the gauntlet of 4A if you're Ashland, Boyd County, Rowan County, Ashland, one of those teams in that district? Or would you rather jump up and play in 5A and be in Montgomery
5A.
County's district? I think so,
5A.
too. I think so,
100%.
too.
And see, teams can no longer do that.
No.
That's the reason that Highlands has been brought back down to 4A because they always played up in 5A. Can't do it anymore.
And that's why Belfry's in 2A now.
Yes.
So, and the people in 2A may not be real familiar with Belfry, but they're about to be real familiar with them.
Yeah, they're going to find out about Belfry real quick.
They're going to find out real quick.
Belfry Beechwood to a state championship every year.
Yeah. Other teams in 5A.
I don't know, man.
Other teams in 5A. Pulaski County had the top RPI. They're 9-2. Owensboro 9-2. Woodford County, North Laurel, Scott County, Atherton at 10-1. And you bring up Atherton, you look at their lone loss. They fell to 6A manual, 33-21. They have since then, over their next 7 games, given up a total of 13 points, and all 13 of those came against in a win against North Oldham.
Yeah, and you said North Laurel, who has a big win over Lawrence County. Lawrence County went and played them midway through the season, and I remember reading some of the comments about how athletic they were. I don't think that they're quite on the level as the top-tier teams in 5A, but I think 5A, if you look at it head to toe, might be the most open class out of all the other ones.
I think so,
because
too.
there's clear-cut leaders in every class, except for 5A. I think 5A is very open.
And here's something that's really interesting about Atherton. They're running 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And it's not because somebody's been hurt or whatever. One guy's played 11 games, the other's played 9. They've both thrown for almost the same number of yards. One has 13 passing touchdowns, the other one has 10. And neither one of those guys are a running quarterback because the leading running back has almost 1,000 rushing yards. Take that in. I mean, you've got a dual-headed quarterback. And, you're always saying if you have 2 quarterbacks because you don't have one, well, obviously they got 2 pretty good ones.
I wonder if one is right and one's left-handed. I almost brought up, well, I mean, it's easier for a left-handed quarterback to throw an out route to the left, and it's easier for a quarterback that's right-handed to throw it to the right. But I almost brought up Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. How they kind of had the two-headed monster there and Urban Meyer was there early in his career. But you said they weren't rushing quarterbacks, so that kind of squashed that.
Could you imagine that set, a double-barrel offset pistol look, to where you've got the two quarterbacks set by side and then your pistol tailback behind them.
That's something Jacob would do in NCAA football.
Absolutely, and it would be a
Yeah, it
fumble
is.
waiting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's jump down to Class 2A. Again, that's the one that we'll cover not a lot, but we talked about you've got LCA that's in there. That's a prototypical powerhouse that obviously
Yes.
they got moved down as well. We've talked about Belfry. They're going to play Martin County, and a Martin County team that's pretty solid. You've got a really good Prestonsburg team in there this weekend. They're playing Knott County Central. There's some really solid programs in there. Don't forget about Breathitt County that gave Russell a tough loss there at the end of the season.
Yeah. But the Class 2A still goes through the top dog, which is Beechwood. And could you imagine Beechwood and Belfry playing at Kroger Field? Could there be any more opposite game plan schemes than Belfry? If Belfry doesn't have to pass the ball, they're not going to. But if Beechwood can, they'll spread you out and they'll do whatever they want to. Mayfield's right there. LCA's right there. Man, 2A might be the most interesting. Seriously, 4 and 2A, I think, are by far the most interesting classes.
Unfortunately, unless I'm looking at this wrong, I don't think there's any way they can meet in the state championship.
Okay. So you're looking at a Black Friday Belfry Beechwood game.
So right now, you have
Or
OCAF,
Prestonsburg.
LCA, and Mayfield at 1, 2, and 3. All of those are West teams.
Okay.
Belfry is your East team. No, I stand corrected. Beechwood is also a West team. So, yeah, those two could hook up. In the RPI, where they stand, you've got Beechwood just behind Belfry.
Okay.
So
How much chance do you give Martin County to upset Belfry?
none.
Me neither. No.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
No.
I think Martin County's had a great year.
I would love to see Belfry Beechwood. I think that would be a phenomenal
Oh, man.
Class 2A
Oh, man.
championship.
That would be something. Now, Belfry doesn't have – now, we got to see Belfry early in the year when they came down to Racel and scrimmage. Belfry doesn't have a dude. They don't have Isaac Dixon. They don't have a couple of, their standout running backs they've had over the years with Maynard and Ivan Lee and those guys. They just have a bunch of dudes who can make plays. And they come downfield very, very hard on defense. They hold each other accountable. And I think that in the first year in 2A, they are a very strong contender to win it. But I will say this. When we walked out of the 1A game a year ago out of Kroger Field, there was a tent set up over to the right. And it almost looked like a visitor section at a UK football game. There was 1,000 people there. There had to be. And guess what they were? Big, giant tent. All Beechwood people tailgating. That's almost like a home game, kind of like what Trinity has for Beechwood. They got people who say, put in your request for work. Well, Beechwood's already taken their days off the first Friday in December because they know they're going to be there. But you got to feel sorry a little bit for Owensboro Catholic, James. I mean, eventually they're going to have to win one of these, man. How many times have they been to the 2A state championship game and they've been right there and they just haven't done it?
Well, and you think about Beechwood, they ran through 1A, then they got moved to 2A and just kept doing the same thing they did there.
Fairview or Raceland would have one of their best seasons ever. They would make T-shirts, undefeated regular season district champs, and we would really feel good. Like, man, Raceland or Fairview, they may do something this year. And they get to the second or third round of the playoffs and get beat 48-0 by Beechwood. And you're just like, man, what in the world? That's the way it happens. I'm telling you, for years, that's the way it was.
All right, so let's first look at Belfry because it's already had them pulled up. Chase Varney, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1,200 yards. They've got 2 running backs in J.B. Woolham and Dante Davis who have each rushed for 12 touchdowns each. And this season, they've given up under 400 passing yards, and they've given up almost 1,400 rushing yards in 11 games. So, but you have to wonder, too, how much of that was in garbage time at the end. Now, on the other side, when you look at Beechwood, offensively a juggernaut, M. McQueen, 31 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's thrown for over 2,000 yards. He's got one receiver that's gone over 1,000 yards, another that's right at 600. You're going to see two polar opposites lock horns if those two teams hook up, of one team that wants to throw it as many times as they can and the other team that doesn't care if they throw a single pass.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of that Belfry only giving up so many passing yards is the teams you play. Also, Johnson Central's not the team that's going to line up in the shotgun and beat you. And neither will their district teams. Where they play East Ridge, Martin. Is Martin County in their district? I believe they are.
I think so.
Yeah, Martin County, or maybe not. I don't know who's all in their district. It's been kind of weird getting used to that because Belfry's usually. I'm just so used to them being in 3A, and it's weird them not being in 3A. Could you imagine them in Lawrence County playing? Oh boy, that would be a game.
All right, so East Ridge, Betsy Lane, and Shelby Valley.
Yeah, see, Shelby Valley might be the only team in that district that really lets it fly. I don't know if they do that anymore. I know Tyler down there, and I know that he likes to throw the ball, but I don't know if they did this year.
No, they have 293 total passing yards on the year.
Yeah, see, a lot of that goes with who you're playing. But I'll tell you right now, if they make the state championship game and they have to look across the field and see that red paw print on the side of that white helmet and it's Beechwood, their pass defense will be tested.
That one, pencil me down for that one. I would pay to go watch that football game. That would be a phenomenal game.
Yes, it would.
Okay, let's go to 3A. We'll work our way back through this one. Obviously, the biggest upset of the entire football playoffs so far happened in 3A last week. And in an absolute torrential monsoon of probably one of the worst rainstorms that we've seen all year long, happens last Friday. And Steve Womack Field in Grayson, which was already chewed up pretty good from the week prior, took an absolute dumping of rain. There was puddles between the hash marks, and it never let up. And Henry County goes to Grayson and comes out of there with a victory, 13-12.
Yeah, East Carter really struggled keeping healthy at the end of the year.
Yes.
I believe that Landon Yoke had braces on both ankles. It didn't really seem to affect him that much, but the wear and tear of the season. East Carter didn't just wake up and say, "Hey, we're going to make a deep playoff run." They've played a gauntlet regular season. You start the season against Belfry. You have to play a really good Russell team who, at the time, playing their best football. By the way, you got to play Raceland the next week, which they played very well in that game, I thought.
Yes.
Just really struggled offensively in the back half of the season. Couldn't really ever get any momentum. They looked good offensively in the second half versus Raceland. They moved the ball, picked up some good yardage on first downs, but they just never could be consistent enough offensively. I would say Champ, he wants that game back. That's one of those weird things that happens. It just happens in the playoffs sometimes. And Henry County, this was not a team like Berea that you play in the first round. No offense to Berea, but Henry County had some guys that could make some plays. And, I think ultimately just not being healthy really derailed East Carter late in the season.
The playing conditions certainly hurt this game a lot. Basically the point after touchdown that decided the game, that East Carter did not connect on, and at 13-12 instead of 13-13. So Henry County moves on. They'll play Lloyd Memorial.
Which they'll lose that game. So
Russell gets Bourbon County, who blows out Fleming County. Can Bourbon County push Russell? That's the question.
Man, I've had a lot of people, and Jacob, you've read the same text that I have. We're in this group chat. I don't think so, man. I think Russell's playing the best football right now.
I think it's a two-score game.
I think Russell takes care of him. Give me Russell at home, man. When Russell plays at home, they play different. And Bourbon County, they're a good football team, James. I believe they're 10-1, but their 10-1 is not necessarily something to brag about. You know what I mean? And I know that I watched your show with Mike Sammons earlier, and he said, getting 10 wins, no matter what, who you play is great, which I agree somewhat. But Russell's played some quality teams, and I think that give me Russell at home, man.
Now, Bourbon County's lone loss, 22-20 to Lloyd Memorial. And Lloyd Memorial
Yeah.
sits at the top of Class 3A, right below Cal, obviously.
Yeah.
An interesting tie back to this game. Taekwon Rice is the head coach there. The
Right.
former head coach at Paris, who left and took a lot of players with him to Bourbon County. The interesting side of this is there were a lot of Bourbon County players that left and went to Paris. So there's a very small distance that separates Paris from Bourbon County from where those are. But Taekwon Rice, a name that some around this area might recognize because he spent a couple seasons there with the Paris Greyhounds with the connection back here to Raceland. But I think that Russell has been playing obviously at a much different level than we've seen over the last few years. I think they've gotten older. That's been a big key. Jaden Frazier has been a really good piece of their puzzle, that he's been able to move the ball around very well. You know, Jacob's brother was there last year, and he threw it around pretty well, and I think they made an extension off of that. And, of course, the Penningtons, when you throw the ball to either one of those, it's a jump ball, and usually they're going to go get it.
Yeah, Russell's very athletic, and I think that they've gotten better across the line. I think that was their struggle early on. You saw it in the Ashland game where Ashland just pretty much lined it up and ran it down their throat. So they knew what the problems were, and I think that they've kind of, they've made some serious ground on it, especially with that 35-0 win over East Carter, who is going to try to put Landon Yoke in a position to run it down your throat. And I think that them holding them in a shutout fashion kind of just added to the confidence of Russell. Bourbon County's a great team. Don't take anything away from them. But Russell at home, I'm taking the Devils. And like you said, Jaden Frazier, great year. They've had just one of those years where why does it have to end now? So give me Russell at home versus Bourbon.
Is anybody getting within 25 points of Cal?
No. Absolutely not. That's like, well, let's just put it this way. There'll be teams at the summit of Mount Everest, and Cal's at the very top. That's how wide this gap is.
Will Cal clock their way to a state championship?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
I think there'll be one game that there's not a running clock.
Stop. But no, stop. You're trying to cover your tracks. Don't. Cal will blow out everybody they play. And there'll be people that'll clip this and say, when they go to play Cal, and go, guess what he said? And then guess what I'll do after they get running clocked? Man, that guy knows what he's talking about.
You seem to show up on message boards at times.
Oh, me and the Lawrence County guys, the great guys, by the way. We kind of went at each other a little bit because I picked North Laurel, and they posted our picks.
Yeah.
And I told them, I got in Messenger, and I said, my hobbies include rage baiting, so you better hope you win. And of course, of course they lost. So I put the eye emoji underneath the final score, and he commented underneath it and said, "I know what you're doing, and I respect it."
Like, you get up in the morning and you live for that. That's a part of the things that you do.
All right, you know what, though? It makes it so much more interesting.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what makes it fun at times. So, all right, let's go to 4A. Ashland, no problem with Mason County last week. Green Falls to Highlands. Johnson Central, no problem with Harrison County. And then Covcath gets past Boyd County, who put up a really good effort, but seriously just overmatched with what Covcath brings to the table. So now, Ashland goes to Highlands. Covcath goes to Johnson Central. Of those two matchups, is there a possibility of Ashland or Covington Catholic getting an upset?
I think more Covington Catholic than Ashland because Ashland's a little bit banged up. And I know they made that quarterback switch from Justin Hughes to Tanner Stutler, and last week it worked out, but they were playing not a terrible Mason County team, but a terrible Mason County team at the same time. So
hang on. You're going to get the Mason County Royal fans upset one time.
Listen, it's okay.
Listen.
It wouldn't be the first time that we've made them mad.
One time, a long time ago, many ages ago, they were 10-0 in the regular season. and I said they had a T-shirt season. I didn't mean anything by it. You know how they are, man. Any team gets 10-0, they make T-shirts about it. Well, they took that personally. So, you better be careful with that statement. Yeah, but they're not great. I do agree.
But I think Covington Catholic has a little bit more of a chance because Johnson Central kind of struggles in the secondary a little bit, and I think Covington Catholic could kind of throw it around a little bit, but it's going to be on who can control the ball more.
All right,
Time
so
of
first,
possession.
first off,
Jacob.
Highlands, Ashland. Can Ashland
No.
stop Lorenzo?
No,
No,
absolutely not. Jacob's timid. Jacob, tell him how it is. Highlands at home is a different animal. Ashland ain't going up there and winning. You think the officials going to let that happen? Absolutely not. No way. Highlands at home.
There's
Now,
nothing soft and supple about that bluebird in Highlands.
No.
At Fort Thomas Highlands, when you walk in there, that bluebird will pluck your eyeballs out.
But you know what, though? I am so impressed. And James runs a great media program at Raceland. But the halftime shows that they do at Fort Thomas Highland, it's all student ran. They do a great job up there.
Yeah.
And no offense to Ashland, it's unfortunate that our local teams have to play. Could you imagine a worse district? It's like a nightmare. You dream like, well, at least we're not in a sister district with Fort Thomas Highlands and Covington Catholic. Unfortunately, that's the reality of a couple of our local teams, and I think that it gets washed over how good of a season Ashland actually had. I mean, Ashland was not a bad team; they were a good team, and but they're going to look.
there he goes.
There he goes. Ashland, I see the Ashland fans. He got himself back. Yeah, but see, this is the way fans like it. They have no audio.
Yeah, they have no audio on him.
Oh man, poor Spencer. We'll get him back here. He was doing so good too, but we have no audio.
Am I doing good now?
There we go.
Yeah, you're better. There we go.
Yeah, because somebody called me. Well, anyways.
How dare they? Don't they know you're a businessman?
No, they don't. Well, Fort Thomas Highlands up there is just a different animal. Just a different animal.
Yeah, that's a tough place to go. Every time that cannon fires, you feel it in your soul. Now, Johnson Central Covcath. Covcath's got a tough task ahead. You've got to go to Paintsville and win in a tough place to go win. At Johnson Central, especially, if they can control the tempo and the line of scrimmage, which I think that they will, it's going to be a long night for Covcath.
Yeah, I agree. But Cubcats quarterback Cash Harney has thrown for 1,800 yards on the season and hold on, can't read that. 14 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. I think he could pick on Johnson Central secondary a little bit because we saw Greenup County do that a little bit. That game was out of hand, but Greenup County, not a predominant passing team, they kind of threw it around a little bit and had their way on the quick slant game, stuff like that.
The game with game with Johnson Central that still has me perplexed was the game with Boyd County. And, was that a trap game? Are they already looking ahead at something else? Maybe. I don't know. But I guarantee you Covington Catholic's going back watching that game against Boyd County trying to figure out what it is that they did because whatever it did, it worked.
Yeah, if you go and look in the stats after the game, the key there is time of possession. If Johnson Central has double what Covington Catholic has, it's not good. Not a good sign. Covington Catholic makes it close. Give me Johnson Central.
Yeah, I think it's Johnson Central pulls away. It's a 2 or 3 score lead towards the end of the game, but I just don't think. I think it's closer than what a lot of us probably. Not a lot of us probably think, but some people think.
All right, the rest of 4A. Boyle County, Paducah Tillman, obviously in that mix. Who do we like? Is it Boyle County's to lose this year, or is this I don't want to call it an open, but a more gettable 4A than what we've seen in the last couple of years?
Go for it, Spencer.
I think Fort Thomas Island wins 4A. And I think that Boyle County and Covington Catholic are very close. If you go back to the Fort Thomas Highlands game against Covington Catholic, I think Fort Thomas Highlands scored with no time remaining.
Yeah,
so those teams are very close.
I think it was 31-28 final.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
final.
and it was at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So I think Fort Thomas Island wins 4A.
Jacob?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Highlands win 4A because I watched some of their stream last week against Greenup County because my fiance's younger brother last game, but their size difference is what got me. And Taylor said when she got home, she said, uh, Tyson Salmon's dad was like, "You think they're big now? Wait till they come back out of the locker room with their pads on." And they were pretty sizable kids.
I still think Boyle County has that moxie to be there. And then the other side of things, there's always the unsung hero that's the Paducah Tillman Blue Tornado that sits over on the west side of the state that we don't hear a lot about. And then all of a sudden, here they come, here they come, here they come. And next thing you know, they're playing for a state title.
Yeah. Fort Thomas Islands and Boyle County will compete who wins 4A.
All right. There you hear it from Spencer. All right. Let's dig our teeth into Class 1A. So I'm going to go through the whole bracket here. We'll make our picks as we go through this, and then we'll break down a little bit for more. All right, here we go. First game, Holy Cross, Louisville, KCD. Jacob.
Pick
Yes.
KCD.
Spencer.
KCD.
Campbellsville, Bethlehem.
Campbellsville.
Campbellsville.
Newport Central, Catholic, Bishop Brossart.
Newcastle.
Leicester. Yeah, Newport.
Okay. Covington, Holy Cross, Newport.
Holy Cross.
Yeah, I'll go Holy Cross.
Newport won their game, by the way, 42-2. Ludlow scored
That's fine.
a safety. All right. In the lower half of the bracket, Sayre, Paris.
Sayre.
Sayre.
Raceland, Nicholas County.
Raceland.
Raceland.
Middlesboro, Hazard.
Middlesboro.
Middlesboro.
Pikeville, Williamsburg.
Pikeville.
Pikeville.
Okay. Now, if we go off of the picks that you guys took, and I agreed with most of those. So if Middlesboro beats Hazard and Sayre beats Paris, Raceland wins over Nicholas County. That would bring Sayre to Raceland in the round of 8 when we get into RPI. That would send Middlesboro to Pikeville.
Uh-huh.
Now, on the other side of things, if you play it down the list of if the teams that you expect to win, you could have 2 teams playing in the Class A semifinals as visitors that beat the home team in the regular season with Pikeville, Raceland, Campbellsville, KCD.
Yes.
Is RPI completely broken?
In some parts.
I think Raceland's schedule strength gave them the one spot in 1A. I mean, it just is what it is.
Well, and you think about that. The last game of the season was when they clinched the top spot in the RPI of Class A. And it was because you had the top 3 teams in Class A all played 3A teams on the last game of the regular season. East Carter was the highest ranked 3A team, and that gave Raceland just enough to move ahead of KCD.
Yeah. I'm going to say something controversial.
Never.
Let's just say Pikeville and Raceland play on Black Friday. That's your state championship.
Well, and I'll go a little bit farther than that. How many times does the East decide the state championship?
Every year.
It's not
Every
uncommon.
year.
I mean, it's you go back and look for the last, I don't know, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
If you want to do that.
2 East teams essentially played in the championship game last year.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get. You get the East teams that, I don't know why, but they have that moxie. When they walk into Kroger Field, like, we own this place, we're going to get another state championship.
Yeah. Raceland's got to just get over that hump, man. If they just come out and play like they are played against themselves. I don't know what it is against Pikeville that they just can't get over, but enough of that.
Well, the one thing about it is that if those two teams hook up, I don't think we're going to have to worry about any thunderstorms.
Maybe some snow. Who knows?
Don't say that, Jacob.
Listen, as a broadcaster, I have dreamed of calling a snow game. I had one chance, one time in my life, at 9:30 for a 12 o'clock kickoff. We had snow completely cover the field. 11 o'clock, the sun pops. By 11:45, snow's gone.
Well, speaking
I
of
think it would be
weather,
fun.
I think a nasty weather day favors racing. 100%.
I think that we're about to see the true meaning of what Raceland's offensive attack is with its running attack. No, Racer can throw the ball anytime they want to. Jake Waller can put it pretty much anywhere, and he's got some great weapons. But you got three dudes in the backfield that are capable of breaking one at any given moment, and two of the three, if you put them in space, they're gone. And if you want to really dictate the flow of a game, Raceland's defense is probably one of the stoutest defense I've ever seen them have here. Their offense, running attack, is fresh, rested, and ready to make a push in these final four games.
Yeah, it almost feels like if Raceland don't win it this year, when is it ever going to happen?
Yeah,
and
you kind of have to wonder. I mean, that's been the conversation. It's obviously if this year, then not this year, when. But, you know, that expectation is building. Is it there? It's the 100th season. Obviously, there's been some teams that's had that success in that 100th year, and one of those being Paintsville a few years back in the 2020 season. But I think it's one of those big things, though, that you have to look at and say, it doesn't matter what happens on December 5th if they don't take care of business this Friday, next Friday, Black Friday. They've got to take care of business 1 week at a time.
Yeah, and there's some mumbles of maybe getting Lockwood back. So that would be a huge bonus also. Kings played very good, though. So you just add more depth to that linebacker position. Raceland has got to get over that Pikeville hump. But like I said, you're playing against yourself. If Raceland comes out and plays like they can, nobody beats them.
Campbellsville KCD Part 2, if we see that in the state semifinals. Campbellsville quarterback, I would really love to see this kid in person. Dale Estes does a phenomenal job of that team down there. And Casey Eastridge, he's a senior finally, I should say. 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but he also leads the team rushing. He's got 15 touchdowns on the season. And he's a true dual threat quarterback, though, but he wants to beat you with his feet.
Yeah. I think Campbellsville awaits the winner of Race on a Pot, to be honest with you.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I've said that all year long. I've had Campbellsville either at the top of my rankings or right there at 1 or 2. But it's been one of those deals. It's been Raceland, Pikeville, Campbellsville in that order, and then KCD is my top 4 all season.
I just don't think KCD's secondary is good enough to hold up against Campbellsville.
Well, and the other thing with KCD, when you look at how they're structured again, they're running a triple option this season. You're not setting yourself up if you fall behind a couple of scores to have to try to claw back out of that trying to run a triple option.
Are they running a triple option or the flex mode?
I think they went to triple option this year. They were flex last year. But I heard that they have gone to the triple option this year.
Well, you know what that sounds like in cold weather? Bunch of fumbles.
You look at what they've done on the season. They've thrown the ball 66 times for 789 yards. Caden Long has thrown only 1 interception to 14 touchdowns. But they've got 2 guys that have rushed for a combined close to 1,500 yards and 21 touchdowns in Parker Rudolph and Tyler Wilson.
It'd be weird not
Yeah.
driving to Louisville on Black Friday.
Well,
It's
that's a
gonna be
good
real
thing for
weird.
Rams
Well-
fans this year is as long as they win, they don't have to drive anywhere from their house to Rams Stadium. And it's been a while since Raceland has played Black Friday football at home. Usually
I think they've only done it
they're
once.
they're making a trip down to Louisville and going to KCD. So this year, hopefully, everything pans out and the Rams get to play here on some Black Friday football. That would be phenomenal to get that again.
Yeah, you just got to block out the noise and just do your job. Like I said, did not play well at East Carter. Just did not.
And
You
here's
play like
the thing,
that
I will
again,
ask
you're
you
going to
this.
get beat.
Was that a good thing for Raceland to experience before going into the postseason?
Yes, but that team had not played on grass, let alone a muddy field.
Muddy field.
So 3 first half turnovers.
Yeah.
Was that
You
their
ain't gonna
first
beat
game
many
on
teams
grass
like
all year?
that.
That was the only game on grass they played all season. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could see it a lot of times, especially when the ball was coming to the near sideline. Those backs did not feel comfortable with the footing under their feet. They were tiptoeing, trying to get in the holes, just didn't have that explosive cut. And you could really see the difference of that where East Carter, they were chewing as they were trying to get in the hole. Raceland's defense was just suffocating and was not giving them anything there. Longest run East Carter had all night long was 15 yards.
Yeah. Landon Yoke's an animal, though.
He is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's-
Over 4,000 yards in his career. And Raceland held him to under 100 yards. He was held to under 100 yards back-to-back weeks with Russell and Raceland. But I even said it, he was grinding. The braces, everything. I said it looked like he had
Yeah.
Santa Claus boots on. But that
Just
kid
wasn't
would not
healthy.
be slowed down. He just wanted to grind. That's the way he was.
Yeah. Injury just caught up with East Carter.
Okay, so next week, things get a little more interesting because the brackets, again, if you're following along on the KHSAA website, don't get all tangled up in those brackets because those brackets are going to readjust after we get through Friday night. Because then the RPI kicks in. You go west, east. We'll look at all of that next week. Then you go into Black Friday, and it's the top 4 remaining teams. RPI doesn't matter as far as east-west. It's just RPI top to bottom that sets those of what it goes from there. So the bracket each week after this week will change in that trip all the way to Kroger Field.
It's a nightmare.
reserve
I've been
comment.
trying to read the brackets.
What'd you say, Spencer?
I'm reserving comment.
Reserving? You're being restrained?
You're being quiet.
What? Is Melissa there?
No, it's just my dog.
What the heck, man? What is this refined Spencer? Filtered Spencer? I don't know. I
Next
like
week.
it.
I'm not
The real
filtered,
Spencer returns next week.
maybe.
He's on vacation
We'll
next
see.
week.
He seems
Depends
a little
on how
tired
Rachel
tonight.
looks.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I am tired.
All right. So, again, first time with us here on the channel, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you see something you like. Hit that bell. Each time we put out new material, we'll alert you to your device. Again, we'll do this each Thursday night. We'll drop it in here right here on Cool TV. We'll preview the playoffs as we move through and see what we get as far as our state champions. We'll make our first picks for state champions of all 6 classes next week. And we'll see how we stand up with it from there as we move forward.
Okay,
Good.
that's gonna be.
Do
okay.
your homework.
I gotta do some homework.
James
I'll do
is
some
reaching
homework.
for games. He don't want me to win Pick'em. He'd be putting NFL games on there now.
I don't care about Pick'em. Listen, I've told many people all the time, look at my picks, go bet against me, and I promise you a profit
You'll
every
win.
single week.
But you know who does? You know who does care?
Who's that?
Right.
What, me?
Jacob.
Me?
Hankins.
I don't care.
Oh, hey, hang on. Point up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. He admitted to cheating last year.
There was some
No, I
collusion
didn't
going
cheat.
on, I think there was.
Listen, I didn't cheat. That was my first time actually keeping up with the whole state of football.
Yeah.
So when we got some of the teams that were down front, not around this area,
He just
I
looked at
kinda-
Spencer's picks and said, I'll just take those because he can't beat me.
because I didn't know.
That's collusion.
I didn't know who to pick.
It's collusion.
It was only the 50-50
love it.
games. I think there was only 5 games in 2 weeks that I picked the same as you, and I beat you by 6.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, guys.
He's
good
gonna
show
win
this
this
week.
year.
Have a good week. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
All right, for Jacob Hankins, Spencer Hutchinson, I'm James Collier. This has been the High School Football Playoff Weeks number 2 show. We'll see you next week right here on Cool TV.